Broadcasting live from the Trichomes.com studios in Southern California. It's time for your Morning Buzz. We bring you late-breaking news that keeps you up to date with what's happening in the cannabis industry.
Hey there, good morning. Happy Friday. Let's get right to it. Here are your headlines. It's April 22nd, Friday, April 22nd, and these are your top cannabis news headlines. We've got a Florida wedding where guests are sickened by marijuana and food, police say. And New Jersey Attorney General's memo on marijuana use by police sparks pushback as legal sales launch. And finally, Kentucky governor announces medical marijuana executive steps, slamming Senate inaction. I'd like to thank you for joining us here on this Friday. And, just make sure if this is your first time, please make sure to like and subscribe. It helps other people in the cannabis industry and people who are looking to help with cannabis and the push forward to get in with this podcast. The restrictions and the discovery is pretty horrible when it comes down to this topic itself. So thanks a lot for that. Heading straight into the stories, we've got the first one coming out of Florida, where Florida wedding guests are sickened by marijuana in the food, police say. This is going to be something, we've heard about kids and animals consuming, inadvertently, but the bride and the wedding caterer have been charged with tampering with food and delivering marijuana, according to the authorities in Seminole County. Soon after a meal of meatballs, bread, and tortellini, Caesar salad, the guests at the wedding of Andrew and Dana Sabota began to feel strange, according to the authorities in Seminole County. One man, an uncle of the groom visiting from Michigan, said he felt tingly. His heart raced and he was having crazy thoughts, the police said in the affidavit. Other guests began feeling nauseated and dizzy, even though she had only drank one glass of red wine. Another woman said her heart felt like it was going to stop. The guests at the February 19th wedding soon learned the food included marijuana, according to the arrest affidavit written by Detective Daniel Anderson. Miss Sabota, of 42 of Longwood, Florida, the caterer Jocelyn Bryant, 31, have been charged with 2 felonies: food tampering and delivery of marijuana, and culpable negligence, a misdemeanor. They were arrested on Monday and will be arraigned in June. Both of them did not respond for comment. So let's see here. That's the first story. We got the second story coming up here, which is the New Jersey Attorney General. The New Jersey Attorney General addressed what has been getting some kickback based upon the fact that they were allowing cannabis use. They stated publicly that they were going to allow for cannabis use for off-duty police officers, which, if as a cannabis user, as someone who would have gotten a medical marijuana card, all that kind of stuff, that if you have a medical cannabis card or a state card which identifies you as a cannabis user, you lose your Second Amendment right. So that plays into this a little bit, on top of public safety. So New Jersey Attorney General's memo on marijuana use by police sparks pushback as legal sales launch. Marijuana sales for adults launched in New Jersey on Thursday to great fanfare, but a recent memo from the state's Attorney General clarifying that police can't be punished for off-duty cannabis use is prompting some pushback. Regardless of the fallout, the state's top prosecutor is standing by his office's position, even in light of the moves to defy state police by local officials. So you've got Paul Sarlo, who states in a tweet, of course, as mayor and pro-law enforcement senator, I respectfully disagree with the directives to allow off-duty police officers to smoke weed. With cannabis remaining in one system for 30 days, police will subject themselves to never-ending lawsuits and questioning of their judgments. And then he goes on to say, let me be clear, the directive is a product of the law that was enacted. I'm hopeful that we can modify the law to match all the other states that have zero tolerance for use of off-duty cannabis by police. It goes on, even Governor Phil Murphy, a pro-legalization official who celebrated the launch of adult use sales on Thursday, signaled that he's open-minded about a potential policy change targeting off-duty cannabis use by police officers. Let's see here. We'll go ahead and cut back to that. But, again, it gets into the fact that civilians are required to fill out a federal background check before they purchase a gun, and a Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, or the ATF, has made clear that checking yes on a question about marijuana use renders a person ineligible for the sale of a gun. The penalty for lying is up to 5 years of incarceration. So there right there is one of the big parts of this point is that as a civilian, you're not allowed to participate with cannabis whatsoever, and realistically even own a gun. And now in New Jersey, within their law, they're allowing for off-duty police officers to participate, and that's something that's bringing up a bunch of contention. So we'll get back to that in the comments here shortly, but on to the next title, which is Kentucky Governor announces medical marijuana executive steps, slamming state inaction. And, we've been talking about this on this show for a little bit, and it stems around, again, the feds not making their moves, the states, still having some staunch holdouts and that kind of thing, where even elected officials within those states have to contend with other people. So let's see here. Kentucky governor announces medical marijuana executive steps, slamming state inaction. The governor of Kentucky on Thursday explained how he plans to advance the issue of medical marijuana administratively, criticizing the Senate for failing to heed to the will of the voters, and for obstructing reform by refusing to even give a hearing to a House-passed bill this year. Governor Andy Beshear has made several comments about the possibility of taking executive action on the cannabis policy in recent weeks, but with a House-passed medical marijuana legalization bill now dead with the end of the legislative session, he announced plans to make progress of his own. Let's see, it goes on to say Beshear is convening a medical cannabis advisory team, and that will travel around the state and listen to every corner of Kentucky for what you have to say about medical cannabis. And when pressed about the legality of potential broader executive moves to provide patients with medical cannabis access, the governor reiterated that the administration is looking through our legal options now. At this juncture, he's trying to take things into his own hand. Let's go to his tweet. Today, Governor Andy Beshear updated Kentuckians on economic development, outlined steps being taken on medical cannabis, and named new Team Kentucky All-Stars after the first of its kind rescue in River Gorge. Goes on to say, if they're not going to take action, not even give a committee hearing in the Senate, I believe it's my obligation to see what's possible given the will of the people and their desire to move this thing forward. He said, we're behind Mississippi. That's something we can't be okay with. Well, I'd love to hear from people from Mississippi on that one to see what we got going on there. And I'm back on the comments. Warshak, I live in Kentucky and haven't heard anything. Well, now you have. This is something that within the Kentucky aspect of it, the point to today's headline is to let you know that the people in Kentucky, including the governor, are tired of not hearing anything about it. So really, today's just to let you know there's something to get behind here shortly, and your governor seems to be doing something about it. And good morning, Earth. Michael Payton Sr., good to see you. Mudflap Jackson, hello there from Tennessee. Little Mac 86, yeah, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Laws are funny that way, right? And yep, Tennessee isn't doing anything. I off the top of my head, I can't tell you about Tennessee action or inaction, but we can definitely look into it for one of next week's updates. So, yeah. Oh, you know what? He said, "Good morning, Earth." Michael Payton Sr. Of course, I missed that one. Happy Earth Day, everybody! You know, it's in an era where every day has a calling to it. It's tough to keep track of these things, but happy Earth Day, everybody. Um, let's see. Good morning, John Phantom. Hi. Um, so you're the lucky guy. You know, we'll address that later. But no, I was not married to that person. Little Mac, the latitude, altitude, weather, and soil in Kentucky would be extremely conducive to cannabis growth. So I've heard, and realistically, some of the better hemp's been coming out of Kentucky for a while now. Jen Canna is out of that area, and they've been producing um, uh, hemp and I'm sorry, I was thinking more of like hemp seed and not the CBD high varieties when you're talking about hemp for clothing and textile hemp, that type of stuff. Doggy Limit, good morning, sunshines. Gibby, unfortunately, I think we're years away from any legalization. Too many people are completely ignorant about the plant. Make alcohol illegal, if anything. Again, if anything. Realistically, I don't see the thing going that way with alcohol, but it'd be better to have, you know, tighter rules on that. But once the cat's out of the bag, so to speak, it's tough to get everything back in place or reverse that a little bit because there's a lot of people who enjoy their alcohol. But I have to agree with you as far as on a federal legalization note. I do believe that we are probably years away from any sort of broad legalization. I'm hoping that in the next 3 to 5 years, we're looking at something on the decriminalization side and something in the way of really. I hope Biden follows through with what he had been saying within his campaign promises and really looking into people being in prison for plant only offenses. And right now, he has not said anything about that. We're not getting any further. And like we were talking about yesterday, he's just kind of kicking the can down the street and talking about how the research bills are in place. And that doesn't address, the people who are stuck in place in prisons and stuck in the peril of having to make a choice between life, liberty, and freedom, and smoking cannabis as an alternative to medicines, as an alternative lifestyle, as a recreational choice, and that is something that, again, as we discussed yesterday, and I always discuss, is just one of the biggest atrocities that we can all be succumb to here, and it's tough. Let's see. Michael Payton Sr., Jason Neems, the author of A Bill in Kentucky, was on the news last night and said even if Beecher tries, he can't pull executive order. Okay. I did not see that part of it, and so Michael Payton Sr., are you saying that what we just read on this article can't happen because the executive order is or being blocked, that it can't be done? I'll wait for your answer in a second. Really, I did want to mention too, real quick, is I'm on an app where, not an app, but a program that streams this to multiple platforms. Right now, we're only doing it for YouTube, so I apologize if I'm a little late in the comments. Next week, we'll be starting up where I'll be having our app open at the same time. We do put out a notification usually on our app and go live with that, but I've been forgetting that I can't see the comments from our app on this screen. So basically I'll be getting onto our app and answering some questions and saying hi to everybody on our app here next week and kind of running that gamut. Let's see here. Weed and Wrestling. I'm not seeing anything harsh there, and opinions are good. I personally think decriminalizing marijuana is way better than legalizing it. The government screws up everything. don't see anything wrong with that comment. But you go on to say, I'm sorry if my comment is harsh, but that's how I feel. And that's who your puppet president is. Well, now that, political opinions aside, as far as presidents and that kind of thing, um, politics in general, right? And the government in general, because it's not just one person. In certain cases, executive orders exist, and one person can, with the stroke of a pen, pardon people or do that type of thing. But when you're talking about broad reform in that topic sense, it's tough for one person to go ahead and just sign something saying that everybody's free from prison or everything's just legal, and states' rights and all that kind of thing. So I'm going to have to go back to your first comment and say I agree with you. I think decriminalization is better than legalization, and it allows for things to be put into place right now that would help with the efforts for legalization, including having people out of prison and not having to fear for this like that. So let's see, donkey limit. 5 years is maybe the worst case scenario. I can see the Republicans flipping and passing SAFE, removing it from 2024 or against Biden if he vetoes. Let's see. Yeah, I would have to agree. We've got a lot of public support here, and essentially, when it comes down to it, is that I don't think you stop this train. As far as way back when recreational cannabis was on the ballot for California, that was a turning point. It's again, it's the snake got too big, and realistically, there's no turning back after that point. And when it comes down to the rest of the states that enacted it after that point, we are now at 39 to 42 states. I think 39 with medical laws and that kind of stuff involved in it. And really, again, the will of the people, they're speaking, right? And on the level of state by state, I don't know how the feds get away with not addressing it on a federal level when the will of the people is being spoken every single year, more so and more so. And recent statistics, again, just recently came out with 91% approval when it comes down to medical marijuana passing. And that's 9 out of 10 people. Come on, it's undeniable. And it's time for them to get their act together. And that's, again, what this channel is about, and really enlightening people and spreading the word about what's happening, just like in Kentucky, where to go, who to talk to, and more so how to get involved. So on the level of new laws and going forward, we talked last week, or last couple of days, about how federal inaction is going to lead to other states needing to pick up the ball and run with it. And again, Kentucky kind of making an example of itself in that fashion of what we're talking about. It's like, hey, if these things aren't going to happen on a federal level, you know what? We're going to have to pass it for our people because they're speaking, and realistically, we can be voted out of office. Let's see. So, Michael Payton Sr., I see that memes. I read memes the second time. Neems, not Nina, says that somehow the Kentucky laws will not allow him to have an executive order on this. Again, that's above my pay grade there. I'm certain that it's something that we'll be seeing in the news here over the next couple of days, so I'll make sure to double back around to it here in the upcoming days. But yeah, really, the precedents for this and what's been going on, I think, has been happening in other states. There's been some vetoes and there's been some executive orders issued. So I believe, a little bit of precedence is starting to come around. We'll have to take a look at what that looks like for Kentucky here shortly, or if their state laws are going to not allow for that executive order for sure. Little Mac 86, come on, man. Most presidents are puppet who pander to the military industrial complex, big oil, and all the other lobbyists who grease their palms. No lies detected there. It's realistically the presidents in general are the people who made it all the way up and are sitting in the power position because they're willing to cater to the people who have the money. And realistically, the last couple of presidencies, it's it's been it's been entertaining to watch as somebody who is sitting in the middle of the aisle, as a felon, my whole adult life, and realizing that um, political issues were from one side or the other were not of interest to me. Human issues that involve both sides are what interest me. And as far as my limited experience in politics goes, I can't say that it doesn't. It looks like a lot of these politicians are definitely swayed by the money that goes into the coffers. So, um, and weed and wrestling, hey, we're not here to judge. It's everyone has opinions, and that's literally what this hour is about: is getting opinions out, questions out, finding out what we can do more about um, these next moments in history when it comes down to cannabis legalization, decriminalization, and rescheduling. These next moments, these next few years, the rest of this administration carry with it the consequences of inaction, and really the people that of the bear the brunt of that inaction are the people who are still incarcerated, the people who live every day in fear of being prosecuted or persecuted for use of cannabis because of an ailment they have or something like that, or worse yet, being in a state that will actually imprison them. And it's just ridiculous. This human atrocity that's happening because of the illegal nature of this plant is you know is just ridiculous. So where we have states that have made it legal and have pushed on past the medical nature of it. Again, let's make sure that on the holdout states, and when we're talking about the states that don't have laws, that we remember that medical seems to be the path to fruition when it comes down to tugging on the heartstrings and getting the right people to take note of what this is doing for people on the human level, on the level of making life better, or quality of life type thing. And if your local politicians can deny that, if your local politicians aren't going to accept that, well, then it's time for them to get voted out, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of what side of the aisle they're on. They need to be voted out, because you're talking about people's lives here. Every single day, people's lives are being affected. Quality of life and imprisonment and all that kind of stuff is it's just not it's just not fair. I know people say life's not fair a lot, and there's a lot of things about life that are out of our control that really aren't fair. This issue and this topic, this plant, this is within our control. And this is how we vote over the next 3 to 5 years in these small elections, in the term elections, in the midterm elections, how we vote locally and federally. It is decided by us. And um, some of the outcomes might still not be fair. We might live in a state that once legalization happens, they decide to opt out. They decide to not participate in federal uh, legalization or decriminalization or that kind of thing. And that's going to be a choice that is going to be put back onto you. Again, it's not fair, but we do have choices surrounding that. And really, for us, for everybody collectively here watching this and in the comments, the next thing is educating those. Little Mac just said, every conversation we have about the subject to the uneducated spreads the word. Leading our lives by example, how this plant helps us, can show them. And vote. Very well put. I was kind of getting around the point and doing that kind of thing. But again, every conversation had enlighten somebody new and really keeps the pendulum swinging towards the good side for us. So, and thanks for putting that in there, Little Mac. Michael Payton Sr., from what you know, Philip Morris owns a lot of land in the Emerald Triangle. I know of back in the day, they were part of a SPAC deal that invested into Flow Canna. And Flow Canna, had their covers pulled on that. And a lot of the growers up there from the Emerald Triangle really didn't like the portion of that company that Philip Morris kind of funded investing in the Emerald Triangle. But that's what I know about it. I don't know how much of the land they own up there. I had heard something like, thousands of acres and that kind of thing, but to the degree of which I can confirm that they actually own the land versus investing in different companies up there that actually own portions of the market, I can't confirm that on the land ownership. But I'm not sure that they can own it directly. We'll have to. No, technically, there's nothing that would stop them from owning land in Emerald Triangle and leasing it to people growing cannabis. So I imagine they could do it that way. Laura Camp, thanks for tuning in from Texas. I'm going to. There's a couple different states we need to weigh in on. Texas had something come up last week, and it looked like it was a little bit more hearsay. So I'm vetting it a bit more as the week ends, and then we get some new news about it. But it looked like there was some action in Texas, and I know that you and Philip over there in Texas are consistent watchers and definitely have your eye on what's going on there in Texas. So we'll see if we can't get an update. John Phantom, if companies like Philip Morris grow millions of acres for hemp, fiber, and concentrate, shadow will be at 10 cents a gram. Can't argue with that one. It's, California, the market's just fallen off. I imagine everywhere, realistically, prices have come down quite a bit. Within a business that I do on the side of this business, right, is I do plant touching cannabis business out here in California, and I work with larger companies in the field of distillate. So I specialize in sourcing non-detect, meaning pesticides and molds and mildews and that kind of stuff are not detected within the limits of quantification there, and really, the price of distillate has fallen. Well, over the last 3 years, it's fallen. I don't even know how to quantify it in percentages, but it's fallen from $4.50 a gram down to $1 a gram pre-tax here in California. So, yeah, it's amazing what's happened to the market here. Let's see. Lost 96er checking in from Jersey. Successful first day for legal sales. Fantastic. Yeah. Congratulations. 421 was the first day there. At the top of the hour, we were talking about how New Jersey has a little bit of turmoil surrounding the laws for the police officers there and consumption off duty. But nonetheless, I have heard that there was some great sales going on in New Jersey, 421, first recreational sales. So congrats on that and moving forward there. I know you're making New York jealous. Yeah. So you know what? I'm going to take the chance to again throw this up there for the like, subscribe, and then as we're doing that, just to let everybody know in the comments again, we are still in the invite only beta part of our app. So basically, we've been throwing links out, utilizing a few influencers and doing that kind of thing and getting people to the app just so we could beta test and break it, if you will, before we bring the masses to it. And it's been a while for us, and now we're getting to that final phase where we're starting to let more people in, and want to throw the links out there for you guys. I know I put it out for this, and a lot of you guys are regulars here, so thanks for being with us here on the YouTube channel, and I hope you join us on the app. But as I said, next week I'll be bringing the app up here so I can talk to people in the comments there as well. And I definitely thank everyone for joining on this Friday. We will be back at 12 noon. Jason and I will be going live again 12 noon today for the weekly roll-up to discuss some of the heaviest hitting stories from this week that everybody was talking about, and getting a little bit further into what Laura said about gas, oil, big pharma, and big tobacco all in it against us. This is the thing that's holding the federal movement back. So we had a couple different stories that we were going to bring up, and this is going to be part of how we make these next moves and really put the pressure on, if it's not this administration, the next administration, and make this a voting issue come 2024. So everybody, thank you very much for joining. Happy Friday. Look forward to seeing you at 12 noon. Have a great day and be well.